This is how it's done. Prime Minister Carney of Canada at the Andaji military base in Latvia. It's a NATO base, and he had a strong message to authoritarians across the world and a not so subtle message to Donald Trump. And that is democracies will prevail. Authoritarians are going to get crushed, and Canada and the coalition of the willing, which no longer includes the United States of America, is going to lead the way to stop Soviet aggression as embodied in Vladimir Putin, as embodied in dictators across the world. Prime Minister Carney says the days of peace, the days of tranquility, they're done. We are now in a world of brute force, and we need to meet that force with greater force, and Canada is going to lead the way. I want you to watch Prime Minister Carney at this Andaji military base in Latvia. Listen to some of his powerful words right here. Let's play the clip.
Because if we're going to deter Russian aggression in Latvia and the Baltics across Europe, if we're going to secure a lasting and more durable peace and security, if we're going to defend and advance our values of freedom, of democracy and peace, Canada must do so from a position of strength. In short, if we want a safer world, we need a stronger Canada. And so it's the service of the women and men behind me and those that they represent. It's their service and sacrifice that makes Canada strong. As we confront the challenges facing the world at this hinged moment in history, Canada's leadership will be measured not only by the strength of our values, but also the value of our strength. This is the strength on the very front line in the struggle between authoritarianism and democracy, between freedom and fear. And in no small part because of their service, your service and sacrifice, this is a struggle that we will win because we are stronger together. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Now, folks, this is part of a broader trip featuring Prime Minister Carney and his Canadian ministers. They went to the Scandinavian region. They were in Finland. They were in Sweden. They will be going in Europe to see Friedrich Merz very soon in Germany. Prime Minister Carney, as you know, over the weekend was with President Zelensky in Ukraine to celebrate their Independence Day. And actually, it's also the 34 years of independence of Latvia from the Soviet aggression as well. Prime Minister Carney knows his history well. He knows that he who does not remember and study history is bound to repeat it. And here Prime Minister Carney talks about the importance of this speech at this military base at this moment in time. Here, play this clip.
Okay. Well, it is good morning, everyone. Still morning. It feels like it could be the afternoon after everything that we have seen. This is an absolutely extraordinary deployment, extraordinary group of women and men, and it is my pleasure to greet the members of the Canadian Armed Forces and our NATO allies. It's an honor. It's a tremendous honor for me and the Minister of National Defence of Canada to be with you here today at the Andaji base. The Minister and I have just come from a trip where we've been in Riga, in Berlin, in Warsaw, and Kyiv. And it's fitting. We've been building up to this moment. It's fitting to conclude our trip here at the Andaji base, standing with so many courageous men and women who defend our values, our freedom, and our security every day. This, as we've seen this morning, is much more than a military base. It's an anchor of service, of cooperation, a foundation of security. A foundation of security in a world that's more divided, in a world where we must once again contend with hard power, contested borders, and authoritarian aggression.
More powerful words from Prime Minister Carney. And as I watch this, I think to myself, this is what a real leader looks like. And I also think how weak, how small, how tiny Donald Trump has made America look and has made himself look and everything associated with America, while the world is moving on with leaders, strong leaders like Prime Minister Carney of Canada. Play this clip.
Those serving in uniforms, and 14 uniforms, at this base represent over a dozen allied nations. Allies who train together in advanced combat and strategy. Allies who work together seamlessly. This is one of the impressive accomplishments of this base, Colonel. Working together seamlessly to preserve peace and security in Latvia, collective security in the Baltics, in Europe, and across NATO. Thank you. Thank you for the duty and devotion that you demonstrate every day. When the minister and I were in Kyiv on Sunday for Ukrainian Independence Day, it would be difficult for us to overstate the enormous gratitude that was conveyed to us by the Ukrainian people for Canada's contributions and the contributions of our allies to their freedom and independence. Canada's contribution over the years includes more than 45,000 Ukrainian security service members who've been trained by Canadian soldiers as part of Operation Unifier. And we'll see some of those soldiers, some of the officer corps later today. Ukrainians know that Canada and our allies stand with them. They know that their cause is our cause, that we stand with them for freedom, for democracy, and in independence. And so it was in 1991 when Canada became the first G7 nation to recognize Latvia's independence. The 34th anniversary was yesterday. We recognized that independence after Latvia had courageously reclaimed independence after decades of Soviet rule. And so it was when Russia illegally annexed Crimea in 2014, Canada, under Prime Minister Stephen Harper, launched Operation Unifier, sending hundreds of Canadian Armed Forces personnel to Ukraine to train Ukrainian troops to fight Russian aggression. And in April of that year, 2014, more than 100 members of the Canadian Armed Forces were deployed here to Latvia to begin Operation Reassurance. Today gives a sense of what's been built on that core. 3 years later, as Russia's threats to the Baltics intensified, so 2017, 2018, Canada stepped up to lead the NATO battle group here at the Adaji base and added 450 more of our troops. And today, this battle group has grown into a major multinational brigade, with Canada leading more than 3,500 soldiers from those 14 nations. Working together, soldiers working together to deter and defend against Russian aggression on NATO's eastern flank, and to fortify our shared defense by air, by land, and sea. Since its inception, the need for Operation Reassurance, unfortunately, the need for Operation Reassurance has only intensified. In Kyiv on Sunday, I recalled decades ago when President Ronald Reagan led a peace effort with the Russians, he adopted the slogan, "Trust but verify." But Vladimir Putin is not Mikhail Gorbachev. Putin seeks darkness, not glasnost. He seeks empire, not perestroika. We can't trust but verify with Putin. We must deter and fortify. Deter new aggression and fortify our shared defense. And that's why yesterday the minister and I announced the extension of Canada's Operation Reassurance for another 3 years. This renewal will increase capabilities in Latvia to reinforce our collective defense and to bolster our cooperative security and strengthen that NATO deterrence. The extension of Operation Reassurance is part of our broader mission to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces. This June, along with our NATO allies, all of whom are many of whom are represented here today, along with our NATO allies, we committed to NATO's new defense pledge of investing 5% of our annual GDP in the next decade. For Canada, this will represent a quadrupling of our defense expenditures in cash terms by the end of this decade. We're making this year alone additional investments of $9 billion. And we're working with urgency and determination to increase our defense capabilities to meet the threats that are growing in the world.
You know I'm a cold brew person year-round. I used to rely on those grocery store concentrates or spend $6 at a cafe thinking it was more convenient. I swear, the other day I saw a cafe by me charging $7 a cup. $7. Insane. But then I found Trade, and now making cold brew at home is easier, it tastes better, and it costs less. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the US for both hot and cold coffee drinkers. They've sourced the best beans from top roasters across the country, and right now they've teamed up with 15 roasters to create a special cold brew collection. That means beans roasted specifically for cold brew that taste exactly how they should. Smooth and delicious. When my Trade box shows up, the beans smell incredible. They grind them for cold brew, so I just scoop them into a pitcher, add water, and leave them in the fridge overnight. And by morning, I've got cafe quality cold brew ready to go. It really is that simple. I mean, check this out. Here's my pitcher of cold brew right here, and yes, it is incredibly delicious. I'm impressed by myself, to be honest. For a limited time, Trade is giving 50% off a month of cold brew. You heard that right. That's around 60 cups of cold brew for 50% off when you go to drinktrade.com/Meidas. That's drinktrade.com/Meidas to get 50% off 1 month of cold brew. drinktrade.com/Meidas. MEIDAS.
Another powerful moment here from Prime Minister Carney. Let's play it.
To support the women and men of our armed forces, we're making major investments in our military capacities. In June, we struck a new EU-Canada security and defense partnership, leading to Canada's participation in the European SAFE initiative and the launch of the Rearm Europe plan. By doing so, we'll be able to partner with our European allies to invest in new drones, in new ships, in new aircraft, and new munitions more quickly and more economically. And we're also, back home, creating a new defense procurement agency so we can build at pace, so the women and men of the armed forces have cutting-edge military equipment that they need and deserve. These investments will modernize our military, and they'll fortify our leadership role in the world.
And folks, this comes on the heels of more attacks by Russia against Ukraine. Russia has only intensified its killings, its genocide of innocent Ukrainians following the humiliating meeting with Donald Trump in Alaska, where Putin and Sergei Lavrov, who wore the USSR shirt, mocked and humiliated Donald Trump in the United States, as Donald Trump made American soldiers bow down literally to Putin on their knees and roll out the red carpet, as Donald Trump zigzagged and couldn't walk in a straight line and said, "Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. It is so great to see you, my friend." And then thereafter, Donald Trump gave up any ideas of requesting a ceasefire, of requesting trilateral meetings between Putin and Zelensky, of sanctioning Putin, of demanding security guarantees. Putin got everything he wanted and more. The United States looked like utter cowards. Donald Trump gave up even the semblance of acting like he cares. Now you have Russia making deals for putting diamonds in the United States and talking to Exxon, and Ukraine is getting hit by ballistic missiles. There were missile strikes across Ukraine, in Kyiv, in Sumy, in other areas as well. Zelensky wrote, "Restoration efforts are now underway in the Sumy region after Russian drone strikes. Nearly 100 UAVs targeted overnight these various regions and specifically civilian infrastructure. Unfortunately, energy facilities were damaged. The attack caused power outages in Poltava, Sumy, the Cherniv regions, leaving more than 100,000 households without electricity. All emergency services are working on the ground to restore power as quickly as possible. In Kharkiv region, a drone struck an area, and in Kherson, a residential apartment building. There are injured. All necessary assistance is being provided. The Russians continue the war and ignore the world's call to stop the killings and destruction. New steps are needed to increase pressure on Russia to stop the attacks and to ensure real security guarantees. We're working with our partners to exert such pressure. I thank everybody for helping. Look, let's face it, the United States ain't helping. Europe's helping, Canada's helping, Australia's helping, the United States ain't helping. The United States is engaged in espionage against our allies. As I reported yesterday morning, the United States was caught sending spies and engaging in covert influence operations in Greenland to try to plan to take over Greenland via military invasion. Denmark caught the United States basically spying on them to plan an invasion, to take over the sovereignty of Greenland, to conquer it. And Greenland has, and Denmark, Greenland's still part of Denmark, has summoned the top U.S. diplomats to hold meetings over this espionage attempt. By the way, I view it as an act of war. I mean, it should trigger Article 5 of NATO against a NATO member in the U.S. Frankly, NATO should throw out the United States based on the way Donald Trump has been behaving. I understand why they don't. I mean, just listen to Donald Trump's ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, continue to whine. Here, play this clip.
Some Canadian politicians have decided that they will attack the president personally. They will attack people on his economic team, his negotiating team. They will attack them personally, not on the policy, but them personally. Again, that is a Canadian decision. All we do is respond to it.
More whining from him. Let's play this clip right here.
Do you understand why some Canadians are upset with your president when he talks about the 51st state? And why some of them don't want to travel, why provinces are banning it? Do you understand why?
In reality, I've talked to a lot of Canadians, and I will be the first to admit I still don't fully understand how personal and how aggressive some Canadians have become on this issue. Okay, so no, I don't fully understand it. I understand that those feelings exist. They're part of my reality, but they don't really exist on the other side of the border. Americans are not banning the sale of Canadian products into America. I've asked a lot of places, what's American tourism doing? And they say, it's the same, if not up this year. Americans still love Canada. We're coming here. We're spending American dollars in Canada because we view Canada as a friendly country. And even though, we both have warts, okay? You don't like the 51st state? Guess what? We didn't like it that you didn't pay for NATO for years. But that didn't stop us from coming to Canada or evaluating Canadian products based on their merit and their value.
You recently did spark some controversy on this when you said, there are reasons President Trump and his team refer to Canada as mean and nasty to deal with. Do you stand by those comments, or do you regret those at all?
No, I mean, I'm quoting the President of the United States. I'm quoting my boss. Do I regret quoting my boss? No, I support my boss, absolutely.
Is it hard to work for your boss when he says some of the things he says, and you're supposed to be a diplomat?
What I like about Donald Trump is Donald Trump makes very clear where he's going and what his objectives are. He wants prosperity for the American people. He wants security and stability. He wants a strong, Western world militarily. He wants to end the killing in Ukraine. He wants peace and stability in the Middle East. You know exactly where he's going. Someone asked yesterday, is there any flexibility in his strategy? Yes, he knows where he's going, and if a strategy is not working, he's more than willing to adjust the strategy, but he's not adjusting the end point. Just saying, okay, I've had a strategy in place. I'm not getting the results that I want. Okay, I'll try some other way to get there.
And while all of this is going on, we're seeing Canadians now, take a look at this stat. Over 54% of Canadians with properties in the U.S. in a survey said they've either sold or are planning on selling their properties. And I think that number is going to even get higher. Lots of Canadians had properties in Florida and elsewhere. So not only are they boycotting American products, not only are they boycotting travel to America, they're just getting rid of their properties. They want nothing to do with the United States of America. And they're citing the, quote, polarizing political climate because of Donald Trump. And just look in all places. Like, look at North Dakota right now, where Canadian border crossings to North Dakota plummet nearly 30%, causing massive, massive damages to businesses there. There's a reason why when you look at the statistics in America, the highest bankruptcies in like decades right now, more bankruptcies through August in the United States than in the past 2 years combined. And we're only in August right now. We're seeing massive unemployment numbers. We're seeing low job numbers. We're seeing treasury bond spreads increasing, and specifically the 20 to 30 year treasury bond notes surging right now, showing instability in our markets. The dollar is absolutely crashing, and other stock markets are doing significantly better than the United States right now. Trump is destroying the United States of America. And I think of that speech, though, there by Prime Minister Carney at the military base, showing real leadership. Canada, France, Macron, Carney, I think they're showing we're the leaders of the free world now, not the United States. Tell me what you think, please, in the comments below. I really want to hear from you. I read all the comments, by the way. So tell me what you think in the comments. I want to hear from you. Oh, and if you can, check out MeidasPlus.com as well. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.